Now when the mind remains restricted within the four walls of the corpore, then it is an ordinary creature, a creature of no standard. But when the mind develops within the corporal structure or corporal existence, when this objectivated mind develops, or when the object of the mind is not only the objectivated counterpart of its own senses, it is a bit advanced, then in a more developed phase the mind feels or accepts the actional faculties of the body as its object, so it is to be treated as more and still more developed. And when in the phase of progress, not only the actional faculties, but the point whence these actional faculties emanate becomes the object, it is still more developed. In this way human beings move along the path of bliss. The life of a dog is much more developed than that of a fish, and the life of a monkey is quite developed. Human life is more developed than that of any other creature. Now you see, instinct is generally something inborn. But I told you that human beings can increase their instincts by sadhana, study, association, etc. But sometimes instinct is imposed on human beings, human minds, as something which must be followed, must be obeyed. Under such circumstances, you see that imposed item and the mind flows, the mind moves, developing its instinct, but coming to that particular mental structure, it cannot come outside that imposed ID. What happens? The mind cannot move forward. The mind will have to move within the periphery of this imposed ID. That imposed ID is called dogma or bhava yadatta. You are moving forward. You're developing your fraternity throughout the universe. But if a dogma based on a particular scripture or a particular philosophy says, you know, you are a blessed being and they are slaves. They are there to be ruled by you. They are to be governed by you. This idea shakes the progress. This dogma, you have developed fraternity for all animals. And suppose the scriptures say, oh human being, those animals are your food. You should kill them. You should eat them. Now your progress in the realm of spirituality, in the phase of development, is shown there. It is dogma, and when a dogma comes, you should first apply your common sense. If common sense fails to give you a satisfactory reply, apply logic. If logic fails to give you a satisfactory reply, apply your sense of humanity and get the reply and do accordingly. You are not to be guided by any dogma. Again, if some scriptures say you will have to do penance if you cross the ocean, you may lose your caste and you cannot cross the ocean. Do you understand that each and every land created by Parama Purusha is your land, but still you cannot cross the ocean because that is what scriptures enjoin. Again, some scriptures say quite properly, have mercy on all living beings. Pranaha yatta mano bishtaha bhutanam apite tata atmopam yena bhutanam dayam kurvanti saravaha. Just as your life is extremely dear to you, similarly the lives of others are equally dear to them. A person who thinks thus and shows mercy on other creatures is really a sadhu, or virtuous person. In order to become a virtuous person, one need not give up one's worldly life. When this idea dawns on one's mind, one realizes, why should I kill an innocent creature just for the sake of the gratification of my palate? But then one may suddenly discover a different kind of scripture in Yanshin. Oh yes, you may sacrifice animals in a particular way, and the sacrificed animal will attain salvation. People follow the scripture in Yanshin helplessly, but in their heart of hearts they realize that the whole thing is irrational, yet they cannot gather sufficient courage to go against the scripture. This sort of idea, which impedes the progress of the mind, is called dogma. A dogma arises from either a defective philosophy or a scripture. This sort of dogma should be rejected forthwith. Yukti yukta mupadeyam vacanam balakadapi anyam mitrinavat tyayama pyayuktam patmayan manaha. If even a young boy says something logical, it should be accepted. And if the Supreme Creator Brahma says something illogical, it should be rejected as rubbish. If even a young boy says something logical, it should be accepted because that will lead to progress. But when a dogma comes, it shows the progress of humanity. Many scriptures teach wrong things, and many philosophies teach the wrong logic. Such teachings cannot judge anything along rational human lines. They fail to understand that just as their lives are very dear to them, similarly, the lives of animals also are equally dear to them. Then why should I not show mercy to others? Why should I act like a mean, selfish person? And if they say or argue that if the animals are sacrificed in this way, they will attain liberation from animal life, then I will counter-argue, O human beings, you are also a creature. Why don't you attain liberation from human life by slitting your own throat? Why don't you help your children or your relations to attain liberation from human life by sacrificing them? Why are you so eager to apply this liberation movement, this hatchet or axe, against innocent goats? Have you now understood what dogma is? You must not tolerate any kind of dogma. That is, on one side there is dogma, and on another side there is the human heart, or humanity. Then finally the starting point, the emanating point of those actional faculties is your object. And when this emanating point becomes your object, you will become one with a qualified consciousness. Under such circumstances, there remains little difference between a human being and Paramapurusha. Now, if one offers that object under such circumstances, the unit mind coincides with the cosmic mind, and under such circumstances, that object of yours that is the cosmic mind, which has become your object, is offered at the altar of Paramapurusha, at the altar of the cosmic consciousness. Then that is your non-qualified stance, rather super-qualified stance, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Now this instinct, as I have said, is a human quality, a quality not only of human beings, but of all living beings. Having an iota of mind, having a bit of the mental faculty, so you all should develop the faculty from unit to infinite, and become one with Paramapurusha. You see, this instinct, which all have inherited from birth, and which you can develop through study, through culture, through association, and through spiritual sadhana, should be developed more and more. When you have got this opportunity to uplift this instinct, you should do it. When this instinct is converted into love for the Supreme, that metamorphosed instinct, that transmuted instinct is known as devotion. This devotion is a heavenly attribution, and this heavenly attribution is enjoyed by human beings. In future, if any developed animal comes in close contact with human beings, it may also develop such an instinct and convert its instinct into devotion. It may also enjoy the supreme bliss. 1st of June 1986, TMC in Calcutta.